Whole fam, we got some talking and some recovering and some previewing to do. We'll be back right after this short little jingle. We're working on the intro, David. Don't worry.
I'm under one of the helmets.
We're gonna get you in there. We're gonna get your big old face, cartoon eyes, and get you in there. We're going to. Welcome back, Chargers fans, for Week 3's preview. We're facing the Minnesota Vikings this week. I'm joined with my co-host Tony Tucker, David, otherwise known as the Instant Replay on social media. How are you guys doing today, Tony? You still seem like you're in great spirits.
I am so jacked for tomorrow. In 24 hours, I will be – it's 10:10. The Chargers will already be in the red zone tomorrow at this time, getting ready to line up and throwing some seam route on Ivan Pace Jr. touchdown from the 17-yard line. Book it. Right there.
Who's that going to be, though, Tony? Over the middle, I'm assuming. Ivan Pace is playing linebacker, right?
Donald Parham.
Donald Parham over the middle? I'm here for it.
I didn't won.
First touchdown, right? You need to stop that. Jerry Everett's a bad boy. That play last week where he was just mauling dudes.
G7, as we say. David, how you been, bro? It's 5 o'clock somewhere, I guess, huh?
Absolutely. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. I'm doing great. I can't wait for tomorrow, man. Win number 1. The season starts tomorrow.
The season starts tomorrow. You're right.
It's all preseason.
You're right. Yeah, these first couple of games have been preseason games. They're going to change the rules, and we're only playing 15 games this season.
I do actually think there's something to that, right? Like, if we think about the past couple of years, the offense has started slower than we wanted. And then last year was the rib cartilage injury in the Chiefs game. So it was like, it just was a continuation of it. But when you think about, like, remember, what was it, Washington 2 years ago? And we were like, what's going on with the offense? It looks kind of sluggish. They barely won the game or whatever. It takes a couple of weeks for all of this stuff to get in. And Herbert's, like, implementing a new offense. And the offenses look tremendous outside of the final couple drives of a game. Like, it's not tremendous, but it's looked really, really good for the majority of games. I've been extremely encouraged with a lot of the stuff that I saw. And every time I go back and watch the games, there's like one little thing. Keenan stepping out of bounds on trying to stretch for that first down. And then they go empty set on that next play. And Herbert saves us from the safety. It's like there's all these little tiny, tiny things. Those 2 penalties by Bash and Derwin last week. Like things that are so close. The touchdown to this guy right here, which is clearly a touchdown.
Clearly a touchdown.
It's a game of inches, Tony. That's what they all say. And like you're saying, the Chargers have had a 0-2 start to their season, and all that matters is winning. But there's been some very promising points that you can take out of each game. And we all know how the national narrative can just flip just like that. I mean, we've seen it with the Chargers a million times. They start slow, start fast, have a rut in the middle, then finish strong, go up and down throughout the year, as every year is going to be in the NFL, and the narrative changes around the team. But let's talk about last week specifically. Oh, by the way, shout out to Athir, who's in the chat. OMG, his boys are here. We're here for you, Athir. I'm glad that you're happy that we're doing it on Saturday, so that way you could be here for the live stream. If you guys are tuned in live, feel free to hop in that chat. Put anything. Put all of your opinions for last week's game. Put all of your opinions for this week's game coming up. We're going to talk about the weather report, injury report, keys to victory, bold predictions, score predictions. We want to see it all in the comments in the chat from y'all as well. Both fam, let's get into it. All right. Tennessee loss. My initial reaction to this game is 2 things. The biggest thing for me that the Chargers have lost these 2 games is third down defense. They have struggled to stop teams, specifically on third down, the Dolphins and the Titans being. And this defense could be getting off the field and getting it back in the hands of our offense. If we could just clutch up and get the damn offense off the field that we're facing each week. I mean, we're doing well in run defense compared to previous years. We're setting them up in these situations we want them to be in, but then there's no pressure or no coverage on that third down. Tony, any comments on the defense in general?
Yeah, the defense did play better last week in a big way, right? Like they just a couple of bad plays. There is the one thing that's so frustrating to me, and I was listening to Money talk about this yesterday on the Chargers Weekly podcast, and he was saying something that I have been wondering: why are we doing this DB rotation? And he had a quote or a comment from Staley where Staley was like, "We're still trying to figure out who's our CB1," and then it's like, then why did these guys play in the preseason? If you knew that you were uncertain about which guys were winning jobs, that is when guys should have been out there playing and getting reps and doing everything and being like, do you have a strong command of what I'm asking you to do? So I think that that's the one concern. My overall, like, just the thing that frustrates me the most when I watch it, and I think this is why so many people hate Brandon Staley. I don't, but I get why people do. Is the end of games, these close games. Those are the games where you're like, oh, the coaching just does something. And even like me, as just like a regular football fan, I can't really figure out what it is, but they find a way to just like keep it close and win the games. And like good teams, like you cannot beat yourself.
Yeah.
Because like I watch every game every week, like the condensed version of every game. The games are so close, but the teams that consistently win, it's like these little tiny fine details in the coaching. And that's the hump that Staley has to find a way to clear to get the Chargers on it. It's like that little thing is like keeping the guys locked in, keeping the penalties, keeping like Chris Moore. I didn't even know this guy was still in the league. The guy who caught was it Chris Moore last week who caught that big play on Michael Davis? I didn't know he was still in the league. He's a solid NFL player. Like, he's fine, but he's like 30. I didn't even know he was still playing ball. Good for him. Nice catch, brother.
Yeah, the secondary's been leaky as well. That's been a part of the third down defense. And it seems like when we've had good coverage, there's not been great pass rush. When we've had great pass rush, there's not been great coverage. And they got to piece it all together this week, especially when you're playing a team that can convert every third down if you let them. From 3rd and 20 to 3rd and 5, that's where they're going to be strong. Best fitted to convert is a team like the Vikings. But David, any comments on the defense? Because I'm going to get into talking about the killer mentality and the fourth quarter situation here in a minute as well. But let's stay on the defense before
nothing but positive things to say about this defense today. I'm thinking positive going into tomorrow, so I'm going to only give positive vibes today. Joey Bosa, 19 snaps, was producing last week. 2 sacks, I think 2 or 3 tackles for a loss. He was doing great on only 19 snaps, which is crazy. Keenan Allen, I know he's not on the defense, looked like the Slayer from 2017. He had 112 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was just killing it. Deep balls. He was just all over the field. And then a highlight, Tuli Pelotu. Did I say that right, Tony?
Tuli Pelotu. Tuli Pelotu.
Highest pass rush win rate amongst all rookie edge defenders this year. So shout out.
Yeah, he looked really good.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Mike gave him a shout out on the tackle for loss he had, and I kind of shit on it because I was like, it's kind of unblocking. Mike's like, hey, let him play. He was sensational. He's so much fun. And we got that. We both have the TT initials. That might be a jersey that ends up hanging behind me by Christmas time this year.
He's already been displaying that he's very versatile. Like, I've seen some power moves out of him, and I've seen some speed and finesseful stuff out of him. That's exciting, especially when he's being mentored by a future Hall of Famer and someone who we think should be a future Hall of Famer one day, and Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. I think that he's starting to learn and pick that up from them. It's encouraging to see.
Yeah, I wish more national coverage would do their homework, because they should have been impressed with Bosa's performance last week, and they're like, why is Bosa only playing limited snaps? Well, did you know he was questionable with a hamstring and he came out and delivered that performance on? They're like, Bosa, he needs to do more. It's like, he was fantastic for what he was able to accomplish, and he made it out of the game so that he can play in this week's game. Like, the idea that he should have played 75 snaps or whatever on defense last week and he would have been the difference, he might not even be here for week 3 if he would have had to run a hammy. Come on. National people, do your homework.
Just wait till tomorrow.
Yeah, he was going to the sideline and putting on either a heat pad or a massage pad immediately. Like,
Yeah.
Bosa was in pain. He was only able to play a snap, and then he has to come off the field, and he still played through it. He gained a lot of my respect in that game because Bosa's been the type in the past to miss more time and be more willing to rest than to play through an injury like that. So that definitely gains my respect. And, we're going to talk about the injury report in a little bit here, but Bosa said he's feeling a lot better this week, and we're going to see a lot more out of him this week. He's questionable to play still technically, but in his little locker room interview before the team took off for Minnesota, he was saying, I'm playing, and I'm playing a lot more this week. So excited for that.
I think he's just got to get out there and you got to feel it, right? Like we've all played sports at a certain level, and sometimes you go in with different injuries. You have to get out there and see what you can do. And when you're playing at a level, like the peak level of the NFL, like you might be feeling good, but you get out there and it's like, I can only give you 25 snaps. Then that's it. I would take 25 snaps over 0 snaps. And if that's what it is, I'm fine with it. I'm good with it.
Yeah. And then one more thing I wanted to – oh, go ahead, David. Sorry, say that again.
Especially if you put up numbers like that on 25.
Oh, yeah. 2 sacks and 20 snaps, that's 5 sacks in a full game. I mean, maybe even more. So let's see what Bosa does this week. I'm excited to see him get a little bit more action, hopefully. One more thing I want to talk about the Tennessee game, and it's something that's kind of been a problem with the Chargers since Brandon Staley has been the coach of the team, is we are having a real issue closing out games, both on the defense side of the ball and the offensive side of the ball. A lot of times it falls on the back of the offense. Like everyone always bags on Justin Herbert or bags on Joe Lombardi last year. But at the end of the day, and Brandon Staley is the head coach of this team, we hear all of this preach in the All In episodes. We hear all of this preach, at the podium in between practices leading up into a season. And then we get to the season, and they don't have that winning or killer mentality that's being preached. There's a certain time where those words are just words, and we need it on the field. Tony, how can the Chargers improve? Because another game where the last 4 drives go punt, field goal, punt, and the defense gives up key plays to keep the Titans in it. We go into overtime, and we lose the game by a field goal. And I feel like I've lived this story a million times over, and I can't keep living it. So what do you think it's going to be going forward for the Chargers to really find that mentality? Who's it on in the first place to spark it up?
I really thought that it was going to be that Eric Kendricks was going to be that piece, right? Like he was going to be, because you have to have that guy that's on defense that is just so cerebrally, just smarter than everybody else. Like he's seen so much, he knows so much, and he's going to be able to have everybody in the right spaces. And I knew that in week 1, it was bumpy. Mike McDaniel, whatever happened there, that was a mess. But now we're going on 2 weeks without Eric Kendricks, right? So that's delayed a little bit. These guys still have to, they still have to get on the field and execute. Like, as much as it is, like, the players have to get out there and do it. Like, Staley can only teach and prepare so much. And in those moments, like, even when you're watching the film, you're going, why is this happening? Now, there are some weird situations with why was Alohi Gilman covered up and matched up against DeAndre Hopkins on 3rd and 4 or whatever. I was just like, this is a mismatch that if I'm Ryan Tannehill, I'm like, oh, we're eating on this all day. Like, so I think that it's just like those moments where somebody on the defense has to say, this is what we're doing. Everybody's on the same page, and find a way for Derwin to just be like, okay, DeAndre Hopkins right here, I'm on this, because they were getting pass rush. Like they were getting enough pressure. So Derwin should have went over and said, D-Hop on 3rd and 4, like, I'm going to jam you at the line. I'm faster than you. I'm bigger and stronger than you are. Like, I'm just going to jam you. I'm going to ruin any sort of timing. He's going to have to beat me with Nick Akine Westbrook or Chego Okonkwo or whoever else was on the field that day.
I agree with that 100%. I do think a lot of it has been some mismanaged situations. You can call it play calling wise, but it's just straight up late in the game in the NFL. It's going to come down to best players versus best players, unless you don't put the best players versus the best players. And we haven't put our best players against theirs and their best players against ours late in the game. Because I have confidence that late in the game, if we need a big play, Mike Williams down the field in double coverage. I'm taking that shot. Mike Williams in single coverage, which is what we saw last week. Pull the trigger, Herbert. Let's go for it. Best player on best player. You know that's an 80-20 ball that you're throwing up. And, if it falls incomplete, we live to play another down. But I want to see best players go at it late in the game especially, and ours will come out victorious. We have too many of them. But, David, anything on this? They call it the killer mentality, but it's just the Chargers' failures at closing out games in the Brandon Staley and eras before that. But just specifically, we're talking about the present day. They got to figure this out because every game, every week, if your defense isn't going to be shut down, it's going to be close like this because of Herbert.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is looking a lot like Anthony Lynn's final season with the Chargers, not being able to close out games, losing these close one-score games. But I think you said it the best earlier. I think there's been week one where the coverage was great and there was no pass rush. Last week, the pass rush was great and there was no coverage. We let up a deep ball to Chris Moore, a 5-yard ball to Traylon Burks over Asante Samuel. We got to put that together, and we got to put it together for all 4 quarters. I said it in our first show in week one. They have to finish the plays. They have to finish the games. They have to keep their energy level up. And I ultimately think that this is not a knock at Justin Herbert at all, but him being the second highest paid quarterback in the league, he is the leader of the team. He's the face of the franchise, and it's ultimately on him to spark this team and to get this team over the hump. And I think he will do it.
Yeah, that's a weird ask to do because I do think that he does inspire in his own way, right? Mm-hmm. There's something about the way that Tom Brady did it so publicly with the animated, the let's goes and the yelling and stuff that people go, well, that's the way that you do it. But Peyton Manning wasn't demonstrative like that, really. Like he did get upset, and there's some good times with him, kind of cussing people out or talking loud to people. I would like to see a little bit of that from Herbert in a moment in a game like this where he just goes to the sideline, he looks at everybody, and he's like, I'm not fucking losing. Everybody grab your helmet and get on the field. We're going to win the game. And even if it doesn't work out, just sort of that mentality where he just walks over and says, this isn't happening. And you don't know, but he just says, he tells them right now, this is what's going to happen. And then go and manifest it and make it happen.
I agree. And I think he's going to get there.
That kind of gives me chills, Tony, because when I played on a team, our quarterback was kind of like that, but it would always be after he makes a crazy play, which he would do often because he was very good. But he would come to the sidelines when I played in Japan with the Seahawks. He would come to the sideline and he would just start yelling at everybody if it's a close game. And he would say that exactly what you're saying. Like, I'm not losing. I'm making all these plays out here. Like, he just yelling at him. Like, imagine Herbert comes to the sideline. He's that fired up after that play he made. I think it was in the second quarter where he got hit in the face, like literally smacked in the face, off balance, stands back up, just enough time to stand back up and get his balance, throw the ball, and then gets wrecked again and throws a perfect pass to Keenan Allen, perfect high ball for him to go over a guy, pass interference. Like, imagine he comes to the sideline and he's like, you see the kind of determination I have here. Let's all get it together.
For me, from that, it's more like I would rather it be later in the game, right? Where that's coming in. Because when I went back and watched the game, I was like, wait, I forgot. The defense was playing good up until like halfway through the second quarter. Like I just remember sitting there thinking like, okay, they're going to roll. Like this team is getting ready to just take off. And then as soon as I sat down, Traylon Burks goes over the top for 60 yards on the first fucking play. I was just like, after a touchdown. Terrible.
It definitely came in chunks. Like they played good defense on Derrick Henry last week, in my opinion. And yeah, Herbert's played good. We're not trying to take shots at Herbert or whatever it is or anybody. It's just there's something going on at the end of these games. They're not closing them out. And we got to figure it out. Everyone can have their own opinions on it on Twitter, the Twitter fingers, but that's not going to help anything. The Chargers need to figure it out. All right, let's see what Athir said here because he's going crazy in the chat. He wants a response to this one. My takeaway from last week is why are you taking the ball in OT? You defer. What the F are we doing? Tony, can I get an answer, please? So me and David are going to come off the screen here. Tony?
Okay.
Respond to Athir's comment.
Athir, this is insanity. You just paid Justin Herbert $252 million or whatever it is, and you don't want to put the football in his hands in overtime? that is absolutely crazy talk that we would defer because they could go down and score a touchdown. And we're worried mostly about keeping the defense off the field for reasons that we've seen, cite week 1, week 2, playoff game last year, Broncos game before that. Like,
all of our games.
We gave boatloads and buckets and, armored trucks full of money to Herbert for moments like that. It didn't go the way we wanted to. There's still bumps. I'm not mad. I still believe that number 10 is the best quarterback in the NFL and will prove out to be that over time, right? Like, I love him. He's absolutely fantastically tremendous. There's no way, Athir, that I am kicking the ball in overtime to start after winning the coin toss. That's insanity. But I love you, brother. Congratulations on having the official chat of Nuts and Bolts here for the pep rally for the Chargers. Love it.
There you go, Athir. You wanted an answer from Tony. You got answers from Tony. Now we need other talents out of you, Tony. And by the way, I couldn't have explained that better myself if I tried. But could you play some news intro style music with your mouth so that way I can put this weather report? All right, go ahead. Now, for the Minnesota Chargers weather report, David. David, take it away.
It's going to be sunny.
Nailed it.
So it's going to be sunny in Minnesota, even though it's indoors anyways. So it doesn't matter.
Ruined it again, ladies. He cannot help himself from ruining a joke. Okay.
It's going to be sunny.
Let's go. Let's go. You got to talk about injuries real quick, and then we got to get we got the chat. Carlos Charger, what's going on? Muscling up for Thule. Love it. Wants a Deion Henley INT. I didn't see whether or not, I think Henley game time decision. I did see a lot of Nick Neiman on the field. If that's the case, I'd rather see. I would like to see what Deion can do. I'd also like to see Isaiah Spiller and Johnston too, but apparently we don't play young guys.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So I got the injury report here. We'll give the injury report. It's another lengthy list, everybody. But let's know here on Nuts and Bolts. Joey Bosa, hamstring. Limited on Wednesday, did not practice Thursday, limited on Friday, but he said with his own words that he's playing and playing more than he did last week. We'll see if that comes to fruition. I expect Bosa to be suited up at minimum. Maybe we'll get a similar amount of snap counts or, maybe key third downs like we saw last week, but we need some help in the pass rush department, and we're going to need it this week, trust me. Austin Eckler's out. No practice all week, dealing with an ankle. I want to talk about this for just 1 second really quick. Y'all need to lay off of Austin Eckler. He has an ankle injury. Ankles take a while to come back from. If it's a sprain, a serious sprain, it's 4 weeks for the average, 4 to 6 weeks for the average person to even start to feel better. Okay, so everyone's out here on Twitter. Everyone's going crazy thinking Austin Eckler's sitting out on purpose or this or that. Even if it is that, this man has an ankle injury. Let's get off of his back. He scored 40 touchdowns the last 2 years for us, and y'all turning on him because the man wants his money for those 40 touchdowns. Tony, can you just tell them to lay off Eckler? Jesus.
1,000%. Just lay off all of them. It's just stop pretending like being super negative is going to help our situation in any way.
Yeah.
That's my one thing as a fan. The only thing that we can do is well, we got to be honest with him and we got to give him tough love and all this stuff. It's there's nothing we could say that could make these professional athletes feel any worse about losing. Do you know what the sacrifices and the dedication and all this shit that they go through and give up to go play in these games? I want them to win just as badly as the rest of you. Yeah. But at a certain point, we just can't be calling out people, questioning their toughness, or we're just not doing them any favors. I'm rooting for the boys to go and dominate every time they touch the field.
I've seen comments as desperate and as annoying as he's going on podcasts, but he can't freaking play in the game on Sunday. Yeah, you sit down and talk into a fucking microphone on a podcast. What do you think? He's gone to every practice. David, look into the camera and tell his man to lay off Eckler.
Lay off Eckler. You have to lay off Eckler. He's going to come back. We want him to come back healthy. We don't want him to come back if he is suffering ankle strain or a high ankle sprain. He gave us 38 touchdowns over the last 2 years. He's given us everything. He's got more to give us. You just have to let him rest up. You have
Love
to.
it.
You have to. Yeah. Tony, after all your shit talking about my joke, Athir is cracking up. Cracking up.
But you
No. Athir is laughing. That's all that matters. That's all everyone.
I can't. Just move on. Go on to the next thing.
For here. So yeah, Austin Eckler's out. He did not practice all week. He was at practice all week. Just want to let all Chargers fans know he was there in person, watching the practice, trying to help out the running backs that are going to play. All right. Speaking of Henley, we were just talking about Diane Henley, linebacker, who's dealing with a hamstring early on in the year, missed the first 2 games. Limited practice on Wednesday, but good news, Tony and David. Full practice Thursday. Full practice Friday. He's listed as questionable, but I think he's set to go and is probably going to play some in this game. Good thing, because Eric Kendricks is out, still dealing with a hamstring injury himself. Chris Rumpf is questionable to play, but he logged 2 full practices to end the week as well, so looking good for him. Mike Williams was dealing with an ankle early in the week. It scared the shit out of Chargers fans when it popped up, but he was a full practice all week, and now he is not on the injury report anymore. He was removed today. And then Chris Hinton, depth D lineman, dealing with a back injury. He practiced fully on Friday. He's listed as questionable to play, but expected to play as well. Moving over to the Vikings side of the ball, their center, Garrett Bradbury, did not have a full practice all week this week. He's dealt with a back injury. He's questionable. And then this is a key injury for them. Marcus Davenport, who they gave a big deal to come over from New Orleans, one of their better pass rushers, one of their key guys on third down. He's out. He will not be playing with an ankle. Christian Darrisaw was removed from the injury report today, but he dealt with the ankle all week. He's good to go, though. Jordan Hicks had a shin. He also was removed from the injury report today. He has no designation. He's going to be good to go, but dealt with an injury all week. And then Josh Metellus. Call me a casual football fan, but I have no idea who the fuck that is. He's good to go as well. Tony, injury report reaction. The keys obviously are Bosa and Eckler, but it's got to be exciting to see Rumpf and Henley get back out there. That's 2 key guys, and we talk about late in games needing some help that can relieve and give us some quality play for maybe a Khalil Mack that might be getting a little bit tired in the middle of the third quarter, or for a Kenneth Murray or whoever's playing in the middle of the defense. I'm assuming Henley's going to probably play a lot, but what's your reaction to the injury report, Tony? And then we'll go to you, David, after.
I think the Henley thing is being a little bit overhyped. Like, just the way they used him in the preseason as like third string. For whatever reason, he's reluctant to play Deion and Quentin Johnston. Like, I don't fully get it. And it seems to be 100% against playing Isaiah Spiller. So these 3 players that we're all really excited that we have a lot of anticipation for, they're not getting any sort of consistency that would make it seem like maybe Deion will come in for like some sort of blitz package or whatever. I think Rumpf and Deion increase special teams opportunities and stuff like that. But Deion, I didn't see enough of him playing with the ones in preseason to think that he would step in and play that spot in this game. Because he really, Staley knows his job's on the line. Like, he really has to win this week, especially with Kellen Moore being on the staff now. Like, I think it would have been different if Lombardi was still here. They might not be trying to hand this thing off to somebody else. But with Kellen Moore on the staff, like, he knows they have to win this game. Like, and he's not going to be trusting that, I don't think, he'd rather sacrifice maybe a little bit of athleticism and have Neiman on the field, but at least he knows kind of where he's supposed to be. He knows maybe has a better idea of leverages against a premier tight end like TJ Hawkinson, which is, I think, kind of where the Vikings might be trying to get some matchups on. If you see Henley on the field or Murray in coverage, you might be trying to figure out, how do I get TJ Hawkinson in a one-on-one matchup with one of these linebackers, because Eric Kendricks is out, which is a shame too. Would have been nice to see a good old-fashioned revenge game for EK.
What an opportunity missed there on the revenge game. But yeah, I assume we're going to see a lot of Derwin on TJ Hawkinson in the middle of the field as well. David, reaction to the injury report, any key notes that you take away?
Just one note about Eckler. It hurts me. It really hurts me to see him out again, because I think I had 3 1.1 picks this year, and I used them all on Austin Eckler, and I've only gotten 1 week of production out of him. And Josh Kelly did not fill in well last week.
This is the bullshit that's hurting us, David, when you start bringing in fantasy.
No. It was one quick note. It just hurt me. It hurt me. But I think that I'm excited about the hype around Deion Henley. I'm really excited to see him get on the field. I hope that he sees the field a lot more now that Eric Kendricks is officially ruled out of the game. I think he brings a good energy to the middle of the field that wasn't there last week, and his speed. One thing that I was really excited last year watching Alohi Gilman play more and more and more was seeing him every time the opposing offenses had the ball. You would always see Alohi Gilman on the camera. He was always where the ball is going to be, and I think the speed that Deion Henley has is going to allow him to do the same thing. He's going to be everywhere that ball is. And I was reading up on him a little bit yesterday. He played wide receiver and defensive back in high school and college. So I think that little bit of insight on the other side of the ball gives him some special ball skills that, combined with that speed, I think that you should look for him to get his hands on the ball this week.
We'll see it. We'll see if the youngster can get out there and make an impact here. And this is his first career game. Did he play in week 1? I don't think he did.
No, he got injured in that final preseason game after the interception.
First game of his career, rookie debut. Steers in here with another nice chat, saying the Chargers will win 3 in a row. So that'll be Vikings, Raiders, Broncos. Who's the next 3 games? Who's the third game?
After the bye.
Cowboys. Okay. And then after 3-3, finish the season 10-1, and we'll go 13-4. And 13-4 will win us the AFC West this year. I'm pretty confident that we're going to hand each other some losses within the division.
Yeah, I love this, and I do believe everything that I thought was in front of the Chargers is still in front of them. But it has to be with a win this week. Like, it has to be, you get here. Last year, I was telling this to Mike, the team was 1-2, and the amount I got off of Twitter, I have not been on Twitter since week 3 of last year, when the amount of hatred and just nastiness that was on there because they lost to the Jaguars. Slater was out. Bosa was out. Herbert had the rib injury. Everybody said the sky was falling, and it went the opposite way. The season maintained, and it was, I thought, a tremendous job on all fronts last year. And it's so we're so quick to forget it because we, as fans, train ourselves to think this is the year our team's going to the Super Bowl. And when it starts 0-2 in a really sort of heart-wrenching fashion, both of these games as fans have just been like, why? Why is this happening? It's just how close it's just how close the NFL is. Like, that's what makes this the best form of entertainment I've ever consumed. Better than movies, or it's the reality television at its finest, at its peak. The Bachelor could never be the NFL. I don't care. Love is involved.
Yeah. Tell them, Tony. Anyways, let's get to our keys to victory and closing this one out, this close game out, which I'm sure that this one's going to be another one. I'll start on this one. My key to victory, and I mentioned it earlier in the show, is going to be the third down defense. If you think that the Tennessee Titans can convert third downs, get ready for this, because the Minnesota Vikings have 4 or 5 weapons on every third down that will be out on that field that can win a one-on-one matchup and get first downs and keep their drive alive. And the more you keep those drives alive, the more chances that Jordan Addison's going to leak over the top, the more chances that Justin Jefferson is just going to make a ridiculous play on somebody, the more chances the Vikings are going to have to put up points on the board. And the key to beating the Vikings is to outscore them. So our defense just needs to hang in there, get a few key stops late in the game so that the Chargers can maintain a lead or, pull out a close victory when our offense scores and converts a little bit more than they have in the first 2 games late in the game. So my key to victory this week, third down defense. Got to double up Justin Jefferson on those downs. I don't want to see no Alohi Gilman versus Justin Jefferson matchups this week, or fill in the blank anyone other than our key corners or Derwin James on Justin Jefferson in key moments. But Tony, I'll let you go ahead and take it away for your key to victory, and then we'll go on to David.
The key to victory and the key to them, they should be charging for 0-3. The red zone efficiency's just got to be better. Like, it can't be getting to these points, especially late in games when you have a chance to get 7 and you're ending up with 3. Like, it's just got to be a situation where, we are scoring. Like we have 3 plays that could all work on first down, and over the next 3 or 4 plays, it's going to be there. So I just think getting inside the red zone, I think, is something that should be fairly routine for them. And when they get in there, they got to cash in. They can't be getting surprise blitz because Flores is good. He'll heat them up. Like he knows that he does not have the defensive talent to just sit back there and let his guys go in matchups in this. He's going to be sending a lot of blitzes, which is why I'm really hoping they can find ways in the run game to take advantage of like some over pursuing blitzers. But I would say red zone efficiency, like go 5 for 5 in the red zone on touchdowns this weekend. Like that's it right there. And then if the defense loses, I promise you guys, I will not combat any of your Staley hatred ever again.
They'd have to give up 42 points in a 5 for 5 red zone game.
I think you give up 5 touchdowns and a field goal or something miserable, but like
miserable. Yeah. David, key to victory. Fire it out there.
I got a couple. The first one I have is you have to force Kirk Cousins to make mistakes. You have to win on the line. You have to jam the receivers at the line, and you have to bracket and slow down. You're not going to take Justin Jefferson out of the game, but you have to slow Justin Jefferson down. And one way you can do that is make it so Kirk Cousins cannot get him the ball. The other one is you need to keep the ball out of Kirk Cousins' hands because he will, like you said, he will be able to get Jordan Addison over the top. TJ Hawkinson's a monster. And then obviously we all know who Justin Jefferson is. If we can run the football, if we can establish what we established in week 1 with those 200-some rushing yards between all of our running backs, then win the time of possession and keep the ball out of Kirk Cousins' hands, I think we'll have a good shot at winning this game.
That's a good point because I feel like they did a poor job at disrupting Tua in that first game. He had all day back there to wait until Tyreek Hill could break on that second gear and all of his routes. And that's kind of the goal of the Vikings too, extend the play, hold up just long enough because Justin Jefferson will beat all zone coverages, beat all man coverages. He'll beat double coverage if he has 5 seconds to run that route. But if he has 3, then you got nothing to worry about.
Well, Tua didn't have all day. He didn't even like he threw the ball in like 1.9 seconds or whatever. He just kind of lobbed it to an open area because there was single coverage. And if you give Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson singles in this game, there is no defense for why you would have what happened in week 1 with Tyreek Hill, and then you would go to another top 3 receiver and then go to just man coverage again that percentage of the time. Like there would be no explanation that I would accept as, oh, that makes sense because we've already seen the bad things that could happen. And Kirk Cousins is just as good as Tua. I know Tua is like the hot thing and we love Tua is like the sports world or whatever. Kirk Cousins is very, very good. And if you give him one-on-one matchups with Justin Jefferson, he's going to have another $150 plus in this game. And you got to find a way to not let that happen.
Yeah, I have fond memories a couple years ago of watching Justin Jefferson literally beat us by himself in SoFi Stadium. I mean, he just was unstoppable in that game. Carlos's key to victory is J.C. Jackson has to step up. Do you guys trust J.C. Jackson in coverage on any of these receivers?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So we need J.C. Jackson out there, Carlos. We're with you, man.
Don't get me wrong.
You'll get there.
I still want JC to have help over the top. But if you're like, it'd be really nice to see JT Woods on the field too, especially in a game like this where the deep pass is a real option with KJ Osborne and Jordan Addison and even Jalen Naylor. I'm not sure if he's healthy yet, but they have like 3 or 4 good receivers that they go deep to. Like, let's have a guy who is just super rangy over the top and who's ever on the go route, like JT Woods, is giving that person help. Like, that's why we drafted him. 4.2 speed. He's a track star.
Yeah, maybe we could also possibly run some cover 2 and let J.C. Jackson do what he did in New England and be a ball hawk. Jesus. I mean,
he's got a good one.
In a free zone, as they like to call it, where he's covering the flats. That's his responsibility. But he's a safety that's guarding like half of the field, basically. But they don't ever give him like free roamability like he succeeded with in New England so much and got this contract in the first place. He's always in man tight coverage.
It's really weird too when you watch the All-32. Like sometimes I'm like, is this the players or is it Staley? Like I always want to know. Like I wish that I could just have coffee for a half hour, and I'll be like, I promise I won't tell any of your secrets. But what the fuck is going on with this right here? Like what was supposed to be happening? What ended up happening? And why is this a thing? Like I would love that in my life. AZ Dad, bolt up, big victory this weekend.
Bolt up, AZ Dad. He's saying the key is limit penalties. I agree with that. Pressure Cousins with Mac, Tully, and Joey. Yes, sir. We were talking about that as well. And protect Herbert to allow the passes to develop. Yes, sir. Especially in the key moments. You know you're going to get some different pass rush stunts late in the game. You should be assuming you're going to get interesting or the Vikings' best blitz package on 2nd and 10 on the final drive of the game. Like in those moments, they got to lock in and protect Herbert. I agree with that 100%, AZ Dad. And then a Thier gave his key is just to have DJ lock Hawkinson and double team JJ. And we got keys of victory. We won't worry about Addison or KJ Osborne or just these two. All right, let's move on to our bold prediction here. Oh, SJD, be careful this time on the rough and the pass.
Some of those calls to me are just like, we got to be better than this. Like when people go the NFL scripted, every once in a while I go, ooh, they want to keep these games tight. They're like, we got to find a way to keep this offense on the field because this is some bullshit. Now, granted, I'm older and I watched football where like that would have been if SJD wouldn't have done that in 1989 when I was watching football, he'd have been benched for not putting hands on a quarterback like that. That's the bare minimum you could have done. And all he did was push him like this, and it's a fucking penalty. I was nuts.
Yeah, and it's tough because I back NFL refs because they make a lot of good calls every game, every play. It is very hard to call a football game, and they blow 1 or 2 calls a game. You have a very high percentage of correct calls, but also in the same breath, like a foul in the NBA, a missed foul is kind of just assumed. It's going to happen 10 times in a game. They're going to miss a call on a foul, so that's just a part of the game. In the NFL, when they miss a call, it usually costs a team the game. Like it's ugly. So they're on the spotlight more. People think that the NFL refs are the worst in history. If they were rigging games, I would think it would be through the refs too. If I had to make a conspiracy theory up, like our friend Jay Bolted, fellow Chargers fan.
Well, think about it from a defensive lineman perspective. You're literally like wrestling a bear in front of you. It's a super loud stadium. You have no idea what's going on. And then they're expected to get up, locate the football, and still decide whether or not they have to sack the quarter or hit the quarterback. And then like some of these plays, like even though I hate Dallas, I hate the Cowboys, there was a sack that one of these guys had where he hit him literally in the only spot you're allowed to hit the quarterback or whatever. And they're like, yeah, that's a flag. Like it was like the same thing with like a Jets player. I was like, we can't ask these guys to do any more or any less. Like we need to figure this shit out and stop it.
And then you have to somehow be like an acrobat and in midair, make sure that your weight isn't falling certain directions. And
oh yeah, Leonard Williams the other night sacked Brock Purdy, and they're like, yeah, you landed on him too hard. I was like, this is brutal.
In the same breath, these rules are going to get us 20 years out of our quarterback. So, I mean, we're also going to benefit from it a little bit.
Sure. Like, yeah, I guess. But like this is why we're seeing routinely, and this is why I said people asking about the Jags collapse and the panic, the comeback. We're going to start seeing this stuff a lot more, guys. Like all of these like big 20-point comebacks, they're becoming routine. The year before we had Brady and Stafford in that game, they were down like 30-3 or 27-3, and Brady had the big comeback. Brady did the Falcons game. Like just this past weekend, teams were down 21 points, and then it was just like zip, just like that. Washington comes back. The Giants come back. Like it's these big giant leads, they do not mean the same thing they did before. Like it's just go like this. It takes a couple of pass interferences, one penalty, like roughing the passer because your defense has their ears pinned back in a situation you know they have to pass. Well, there's a flag. Drive continues. Touchdown. Now it's 14. Boom. 21 points. Evaporates.
And then here we are. All right, let's get into our bold predictions for Chargers, Vikings. We appreciate everyone for tuning in to the live stream. Please like the stream, like the channel. subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications if you're a Chargers fan, and share this channel and video with more Chargers fans so we can continue to get more people in the chat. Speaking of the chat, let us know your guys' bold prediction for Sunday. My bold prediction for Sunday, Tony and David, is that Justin Jefferson has less than 100 yards in this game.
I love
that. You talked about Staley's job being on the line. I don't know if it's on the line in this game. It is, but I've never seen the Chargers. I went back and looked. I don't think they've ever fired a coach midseason ever in the history of the team. Ever. Even when it's been 4-12, even when it's been 2-win seasons, they haven't done it. They have not pulled the trigger on that yet, but maybe Staley will be the first one in week 3 of this season. But he has to know that seat is heating up. We're seeing him freak out on not commentators, on media after the game. You could see his hair line going back more, his beard's turning gray, the dude's stressed out. He cannot let another obvious star wide receiver go for 200 yards in this game. He cannot allow Justin Jefferson to have a game like what Tyreek Hill had in week 1, because that's just game planning. That's just ugly. And if you can't stop a guy when it's so obvious they're going to go to him, then how can you be expected to be the head coach, defensive-minded, of an NFL team long term? So I'm going to say that they lock in. And the one thing they do, even if Hawkinson goes nuts and Jordan Addison goes nuts, they are locked in on slowing down 18 this week. And he has less than 100 yards. And we're going to see in the third and fourth quarter, the Vikings are hopefully forcing the ball to him, and maybe we can get a pick that way. But Tony, go ahead with your bold prediction. You can react to mine as well.
Oh, you're damn right I'm going to react to it. Because if he has the guys in the right spots and they don't make the tackles, that can't be on the coach. I'm sorry, but it's not if you're in the spot, if we go back and we watch the game and we sit down and we go, wait, well, he should have been tackled for a 6-yard gain, and now it turns into a 38-yard gain. There are ways that great players can extend things. I'm not saying that was the Tyreek Hill or the Waddle situation or the week 1 thing, but there are ways that we've seen where guys are just making more. So it's a wait and see for me on that one, but yeah. I like the prediction.
Yeah, I will say that if a team's bad at tackling, that's on the coach for sure.
Everything's on the coach then?
Almost everything, yeah. Almost everything that has to do with something as simple as form tackling not being preached at practice enough to where these guys are good form tacklers at week 3 in the season. I mean, we've been working on this for 3.5, 4 months now, and we're not decent at tackling yet. That's on the coach. Probably need some more practice in tackling. That's probably what is needed here.
If you gave me millions of dollars to do one thing, and that was to hit and tackle people, and I didn't do my job, that feels like it's on me.
I mean, it's on both, but ultimately it's going to fall on the coach. If the whole team is bad,
put me in the right spot for success and I fail, then that's on me as a human being, whatever it is.
But
I feel like there's equal responsibility.
What is it?
I feel like there's equal responsibility here, but one way it will fall on the coach is if that guy's not tackling and he continues to not tackle and the coach doesn't do anything about it or take him out, then that transfers the blame over to the coach.
I would agree with that. I think that last part is fair, but it is not equal.
You're describing Kenneth Murray's career, basically, David.
Stop it. Kenneth Murray played magically last week.
He's just we haven't even given him a shout-out. That was his best game of his career. I've seen him play, actually.
It was pretty fantastic. I heard some other people shouting out rookie year, Patriots game, where he was sensational. I heard somebody else shouting out another game from his rookie year on another show. So
we lost 45-0 in that game.
Didn't he lead the team in tackles his rookie year?
I was excited about him in year 2. I really thought he was going to be a breakout. I still think he looks like the video game created character. Nobody looks better in their uniform than Kenneth Murray. He just looks like an action figure. What am I giving you right now? My bold?
Yeah.
A bold prediction? Here's my bold prediction, because I think it's going to win, and I think everybody's going to dominate and whatever. Here's my bold prediction, that Quentin Johnston and or Isaiah Spiller in this game end up with the over 4.5 touches. That's not too much to ask for, right?
That's bold. That is bold at this moment in time, for sure.
Five touches from our first-round pick wide receiver that we talked ad nauseum about adding speed, and now we're throwing it to our slowest wide receivers downfield, running ends around like jet sweeps with our slowest wide receivers. I'm saying over 4.5 touches for Quentin Johnston and or Isaiah Spiller. Like, that's it. That's my bold prediction. Is that one of these will, but both of them should go over 4.5 touches in this game.
Please, Kellen Moore, can we get something out of him just for our own sanity, even if it's 4.5 exactly? Like, he gets 4 and like he catches one with one hand and they only count it as 0.5.
I would even take one where they hand it off to Spiller this way and he's running and then he pitches back for a double reverse to Quentin Johnston this way. Boom.
That's
half a touch for each of them on that. 4.5. Book it. I'll take it.
That's 2-1 right there. I mean, yeah, it's a little frustrating to look at the NFL receiving list right now. Zay Flowers, Puka Nacua, and Jordan Addison are all in the top 20 receivers in the league at this very moment, all rookies. David, bold prediction, and then we'll get to the chat's bold predictions. So please put your bold prediction in the chat if you're tuned in.
I got 2 things to say before I give my bold prediction. Kenneth Murray did lead the team in tackles with 107 in 2020, but that was when Derwin James tore his meniscus in camp. So that's why he led the team in tackles. But he did lead the team in tackles, so good on him for that. The second thing I want to say, and it was about your comment, Mike. This is me having Staley's back a little bit about Staley popping off at the reporters in the press conferences. I think that when a reporter like Popper brings up the Jaguars loss in January in week 2, he should rightfully get bitched at by Brandon Staley. I think that I don't know if you guys look at Popper's Twitter feed very often, but he's getting a lot of hype from these Chargers fans that are like, yeah, keep asking the questions that are pissing him off. And so I think that Popper is just doing things like that to get more clicks on his Twitter feed, and that's it. So that's me having Staley's back just a little bit right there.
Popper's in the same business as me.
Yeah.
And except for there's a difference when you have media credential and you're with the team 24/7 and you're supposed to be kind of being unbiased with it. And there's a big difference from a person like me who's just a fucking fan that gets an iPhone and just videos himself like this from his desk. I can say whatever the fuck I want. But I'm in the same business as him as far as I'm trying to create shocking, compelling, entertaining content. He's trying to create shocking, compelling, entertaining content. That's what he's trying to do.
I think Popper's really really smart at what he's doing, right? Like, he's really good at playing in to the energy and the narratives and kind of sort of has this aloof, I'm not really connected. He's very good at what he does, and he is an instigator because he's always asking crazy questions about like scheme and whatever. And it's like, they're not going to answer these questions. They're not going to give you what you're looking for. He's like, on the third down play, and we're in this coverage and we're in this look. What'd you see there? You think he's going to go like, well, here's what we were supposed to do. Zion was supposed to pull right here, and then we were supposed to have somebody come open on the backside. And if that read wasn't open, my check down was over here, and I had somebody up. They're never going to give you the answer that you want to hear in that moment, ever. Like, I've even talked to guys, like college football guys, and I'll be like, hey, on this, what happened? And they still are uncomfortable sharing with me a scheme and a play that happened like 4 years ago because it's like PTSD with like, how much of this offense am I supposed to be talking about?
Yeah, coaches told me a million times, don't reveal the secret. And the secret is anything.
Yeah.
In the NFL, you could pick up on a lot by watching the All-22 film. And we do a lot of assumptions. And Daniel Popper does that as well. But he doesn't know because he's not playing safety. He's not on the field. He's not getting ready for games. But anyways, let's keep it going.
My bold prediction. I didn't even give that yet.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So we can get to the chats.
I got to stay consistent, just like this guy has stayed consistent his entire career outside of injuries. Keenan Allen, 10 catches, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns for a career. To keep his career year going.
David, career year at age 31 for a future Hall of Famer, and you've nailed it so far. Keenan Allen, one of my favorite players in the history of the sport of football, is balling out right now. In spite of all of this, all the negativity that is going around. You can't say anything about Slayer, and if he's washed, as the kids will say, he's balling. And even in training camp, he was balling.
I hope that we get to see Keenan Allen walk over to the Vikings sideline and flip Justin Jefferson the ball like he did to him 2 years ago.
I've seen that clip. Everyone's freaking out. Like, look at that disrespect. That's crazy. Keenan Allen was sitting there. Justin Jefferson caught a pass right there. They're both the star receivers. Have a little moment.
Yeah.
And that is what's fun though. Like this whole thing about like disrespect is really weird because there are moments of disrespect, but that's not one of them. That's like fun. That's like, hey, we're both at this elite level of something. I got the better end today. Here you go. Like that's fun. I like that.
Or like a little your turn. Like there you go. Now your turn, buddy. Go ahead. Go off.
Yeah. You're up next, old man. What do you got left?
I've always wondered what the mindset is, or just like what it is like to be a player on the field, like an elite player like Justin Jefferson, and to play against Tyreek Hill, for example. And it's like you kind of admire that guy's game. You probably learn a lot from his game when you watch his film studies, but he's also your opponent, and you don't want him to succeed.
Well, so there was a moment in the I forget what it was, like some sort of mic'd up segment or whatever, and it was the Jets. So I was watching Inside the NFL this week. There's a great moment of the Jets D-line marveling at Micah Parsons. And we're talking about the Jets defensive line. We're talking about Quinnen Williams and like guys that are really getting at John Franklin Myers or whoever was sitting on the bench next to him. These guys get after it. And they're watching Micah and they're like, bro, look at this guy. He's lining up wherever he wants. He's doing whatever he wants. You are like, they're fans. Like not all of them, like Keenan seems like he doesn't know anybody in the NFL. Like every time somebody asks Keenan a question, he's like, who's that guy play for? Does he play a sport? Is he a professional bowler? It's like, he has no idea. But there's a lot of these guys, these young players, they're just fans of the NFL, Joey said it about Tully this week. He's like, holy shit. Did you see who is it? In week 2 when they're playing the Titans, he goes, that's DeAndre Hopkins. And Joey was like, shut up, Tully. Like, we're gonna compete again. Did you guys see that Joe's interview? He's like, shut up, Tully. He's like, we're gonna
That's what Joey is too, because Joey stepped on the field day one and was like, I'm a fucking superstar. First day. So he never had probably any of that. Yeah, I could see Tully though say that. I need to get that clip. Is that an all in? I'm gonna watch it today. No,
that's it's on the Chargers thing. It's like Joey's press conference. He's on the practice field. It came out yesterday, I think. It's a great interview from Joey.
Here's a Thier's hot take here, bold prediction. He's saying too much Justin, too much Keenan. Herbert for 426 yards, 5 touchdowns. If you get the exact yardage of Thier, I'm gonna start to question if you're a time traveler. Keenan Allen, 196 yards, not 200 yards, 196 yards, 3 touchdowns. Let's go.
1 carry for 4 yards.
He's the same bold prediction as you in a way, David.
1 carry for 4 yards to get to 200.
Oh, there you go. 200 all purpose. 200 all purpose. All right, Tony. Score prediction. Fire it away. And everyone in the chat, let's know your guys' score prediction. Chargers Vikings in Minnesota tomorrow in the morning window, I believe, which I actually like the morning windows because it gets it out of the way early. And I don't have to deal with all the anticipation. But, Tony.
I like the morning windows only after a win because otherwise the last Sunday was so long for me. It was so long just sitting there thinking about whatever. 33-26 Chargers victory. And I think I said it on a other show, on a show that me and Mike do this week. The defense is going to find a way to have a victory. And I hope that Staley comes to the mic and is humble after the game. Like, doesn't get up there honking, like, this is the defense that I knew we had. We just had, like, just be to get up there and just be like, it's 1 win. We're moving on to beat the Raiders. Like, just, like, don't honk. Don't, like, beat your chest. But I think the defense makes a play at the end of the game. Get Kirk Cousins frazzled. He's a little beat up. He's been hit a lot. And he just hangs one over the middle, and Alohi Gilman picks it off to close out the game. 33-26 Chargers, bolt up. And we are ready for the week where the Raiders are so loud and so obnoxious. And I cannot, let's go. Get the victory in Minnesota.
David, fired out there.
My score prediction, 42-38 Chargers. And the way I think it happens, which brings me to my X factor as well, Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is going to be my X factor for this game. You have to end the game with the ball in your best player's hands. And I saw a tweet from the guy I was just talking crap about, Popper. I wanted to bring it up. Since 2021, Justin Herbert has gotten the ball 20 times in overtime or with less than 4 minutes left in the game, and has led a game-tying or game-winning drive in 10 of those. And only 3 quarterbacks in the league have converted at a higher rate than him. Don't know who they are, but that's what his tweet said. I think we're going to end.
Yeah, we could.
I'm sure Mahomes is one of them. Yes, maybe Jalen Hurts. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think the way we're going to win this is ending the game with the ball in our best player, Justin Herbert's hands, and he's going to lead us down the field and score a game-winning touchdown. 42-38.
I got that happening as well, David, except for I have them walking off with a Cameron Dicker easy field goal to end the game. I'm talking inside the 20-yard line. They're in position to score that touchdown that you're talking about, David, but it's a situation where I don't even know how that works out, 32-31 or something, 32-34 late in the game. The Chargers need a field goal, and they go up and win by a single point. It would be 34-33 would be the score, I think, to work out for my prediction to come true, or maybe a higher scoring, of course. Something similar to what Carlos Chargers is saying here. Dicker the kicker for the win. And the Chargers don't go to overtime. Just kick the field goal. Walk the fuck off the field and get back to LA.
Yeah, it's going to be, tomorrow's going to be great. It's going to be a great game. I can really feel it. There's a lot of veteran leadership on this team that I don't believe is freaking out nearly as much as the amount of panic that I see in the comments on the videos on YouTube. I just don't think that they think about it the same way. All these 0-2 stats and whatever, you got to think a lot of these numbers are prior to rule changes. They're prior to a 17th game. They're, a lot of those 0-2 teams include teams with rookie quarterbacks or complete garbage rosters. None of those things that large bulk of those teams that don't make the playoff applies. A lot more applies to the 11%, which actually makes them a higher percentage. I'm not sure how math works exactly, but I know for a fact that they're not just this doomed thing for losing the first 2 games of the season. But I think to keep Staley in place and to not have things go sideways with the defense, it has to be the scores you guys are saying, they can't happen, because all of the conversation is still going to be about Staley and the defense, even if they find a way to win. Justin Herbert was finally able to bail out the soon-to-be fired head coach Brandon Staley. The team and everybody just needs a narrative where they show up and dominate as a team, and they're better on every aspect except for Justin Jefferson.
Well, Athir's got you, Tony. He's saying 7 sacks. Chargers defense. Believe me, Mike. Don't doubt in Brandon Staley, Mike. Athir, you've been saying this to me for 3 years now, buddy. But 7 sacks, 3 interceptions. Chargers win 44-24, 20-point victory for the Chargers of the Vikings. And then Carlos is thinking, like I was saying, Dicker the kicker for the win on 33-30. We got to yours, Athir. We got you, bro. Don't worry. But Tony, I'm gonna make you a T-shirt, and maybe you could wear it to a game one day that says, "I don't believe in curses."
I
You're the
don't.
only Chargers fan in the history of the time that doesn't believe in curses.
I don't either.
Here's
there you go. I will say I'm on the fence about this theory, honestly.
Here's the thing. Bad organizations all think they're cursed. You don't think Browns fans, Jets fans, a lot of these organizations where it's just they've been historically unlucky. We're playing the Vikings. The Vikings have just as many, if not more, heart-wrenching losses. Like, I remember sitting there when Gary Anderson missed his first kick of the year for the Vikings to go to the Super Bowl one year. Like, you want to relive a game on TikTok for this week in a Chargers jersey to get under some Vikings fans for some clicks? Go ahead and relive that moment for Vikings fans. They will shit themselves. I have a lot of Vikings friends, and I remember tears from like 20-year-old guys, like just crying.
I would cry if some shit like that happened to me too. Haven't you seen How I Met Your Mother, Tony? You should have referenced it there. They have like a whole entire episode on that moment.
I love How I Met Your. I didn't know that you knew How I Met Your Mother. I don't know.
I'm just saying. I know the whole show. Watch the whole show.
You know that show? I can start giving you references.
Quiz me right now.
Off the top of my head, I just got to go with I haven't watched the show in 15 years.
What color was the umbrella?
His name is Ted Mosby.
What color was the umbrella?
There you go.
Hello.
That's a good one.
Challenge accepted. Who says that line? What's his name?
That's Neil Patrick Harris.
Yes, but his character's name in there? Yes.
Blarney.
Legend. Oh, man, I just missed an opportunity. I'm going to do it anyways. That's it for the show this week, y'all. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. The Chargers are going to win tomorrow. 1-2. Here we come.
Requesting the highest of fives.
No, there you go.
You got to leave him hanging, so he has to keep it up there.
That's a great episode right there.
For Tony Tucker, for David, we're going to sign off here on Nuts and Bolts. If you're watching the replay, if you're tuned in live, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, share it with Chargers fans so that way that we can be celebrating next week after a legend, wait for it, dairy performance by this Chargers defense.